It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
All right, so let's shift, Brian. Let's talk about some of the traps to avoid in your 30s. Now, perhaps this is because I'm in my 30s. I feel like the 30s is a really hard one because in your 20s, you're kind of figuring things out, starting out. You don't have a lot of resources behind you, so it's hard to get yourself into a lot of, sort of bad decisions. But in your 30s, you've got some wisdom, you've got some experience, potentially you've even had some success, so you can start doing some other things. So I feel like, remember how like in the desert, like all the little things, they started looking like a giant turkey leg?
Or when you're hungry and thirsty?
Yeah. I feel like as someone in my 30s, I am, to all retailers, all sellers of everything out there, I'm just a giant turkey leg.
Well, it's hard because there's several factors, behavioral factors that are going on. When you're in your 30s, like you said, you have some experience, you start getting some zeros in the bank accounts. That plays on you two ways. You have more retailers chasing you, more salespeople. But the second thing is, I will tell you in my 30s, and I get to look back on this, I get the benefit of it, but it's kind of high school reinvented with more zeros because now you're getting into games of what type of car do you drive? Which street do you live on? And these are not, back in high school, it was the labels on your jeans. Now it's how nice is your car and your house. We're talking about a lot bigger zeros here.
How about what daycare your kids
So,
go to?
this stuff all plays in. The kids, where your kids go to, the parenting, all these things can be so scary that you really are kind of a zebra out in the middle of a field, and there is surrounded by lions that are looking to turn you into big game and hang you up on the wall after they eat you. I don't know how lions are hunting and then using taxidermy, but in my analogy, that all somehow works together. So let's talk about pride and fear. And what do we mean in your 30s? This is, because that's what I was alluding to, keeping up with the Joneses. Not only do you have an entire industry pushing this on you with the pride component, the ego component, but you're kind of putting this on yourself a little bit too.
You start to see folks like, oh, well, that person has this or has done this or has accomplished that. And you start saying, well, I should have that. I've worked just as long and I've done all the things. Why wouldn't I be in the same situation? And you get into this horrible trap of comparing yourself to all those folks around you. And it's amazing that really does steal a lot of joy out of your life when you let the pride influence your decisions other than what really matters to you.
Well, and this is also the first decade where it's not only the pride where your ego is getting appealed to, they're also going to scare you to death. Fear is going to become a very effective sales tactic because you're going to worry as a parent, am I doing everything I'm supposed to? Do I send my kids to the best pre-K? Do I send my kids should I buy life insurance on my baby? I mean, these are all the things. There's a lot of stuff. Pretty much anything kid related, they're scaring the heck out of you.
Even to the way you think about parenting your kids, do we feed them this kind of food? Do we have this kind of discipline? Whatever the case may be, society and others are just very quick to try to influence the way that you make those decisions. So it's something you have to be aware of.
Well, and like I said, they layer these tactics so you can also pivot then to the mistruths. And think about, because staying on the tactic where you have a spouse, you have children, think about the mistruth or manipulation that goes with life insurance. We know you need life insurance. As soon as you have a spouse and children that are counting on your income stream, you do need life insurance. But what do insurance sellers do? They don't focus on the low-cost term insurance that should replace your income. They try to sell you all the bells and whistles of whole life or some high expensive permanent value life insurance. That's a manipulation that not only is doing a little bit of a mistruth, but it's also layering in there some of the fear components that we talked about in pride and fear.
Yeah, and I think two of the mistruths, and this kind of comes into that creative math. It's the example you said. When I went and took my car in, they actually had a salesperson in the bay walking around. They told me I could trade in my 3-year-old car for a brand new car that, according to them, was twice as expensive, and it was only going to cost me $28 more a month from what my original payment was before we paid off the car. And I just think that's insane because obviously they were stretching out the loan. They were doing all kinds of creative math.
Would actually own the car.
No, you would just be borrowing it and faking, getting to tell all your friends, hey, look at my fancy new car. I think a lot of folks in that situation that weren't financially minded, what is it? Oh, yes, sign me up. $30 a month? Easy. I can do that, no problem.
So don't let somebody try to sell you a lifestyle at $100 at a time because it is you want to have an ownership lifestyle, a net worth mindset, not off of how much you can afford. And that kind of leads to the next one I always see is mortgage companies talking about conflict of interest.
Oh, yeah.
What is the first thing you have to do? You have to go to a real estate agent, but then to show some houses to you, they want to see something from a bank which says how much you're already been kind of pre-authorized to borrow from the mortgage companies. Well, the mortgage companies, little secret, guys, two things. And look, I have a lot of friends that are real estate agents too, but your real estate agent and your mortgage company, they want you to do it as big and as often as possible because they get paid off of that. So just recognize that. But that's what mortgage rates are lower than they've ever been, and they try to really push that up and take advantage of it. So it's a misstatement in the fact that they really kind of use it to manipulate you on pushing those numbers way up. It really is something you have to be aware of. And then I put this one. This one, look, if Joanna and Chip Gaines ever want to be friends, want to go out to dinner, open invitation, love to do that. But here's the thing: when I'm watching their show, or when I watch their old reruns, because they're not really doing that old version of the show, it used to crack me up. And now you just built a house, so you know what I'm talking about. When Chip Gaines talks about repairing a kitchen, and he says, "Yeah, we did this kitchen for $12,000," I look at it and I'm like, whoa.
I'm like, which corner was that?
They have the granite that spills all the way over to the ground. They have the stainless steel package. They have the built-in fridge. I bet their appliance package was $12,000, but he says he did that whole kitchen for $12,000. It is malarkey. Right. And it is a misstatement and a manipulation because remember, what is going on when you watch HGTV? They're trying to get you excited about going out there and buying real estate, improving your house. So a lot of the goods that are used on their show, donated. They're not paying for it. So yeah, for Chip Gaines on that show, it was $10,000. You go do it, it's going to be $65,000. But it's just one of those things. It's a manipulation to get you to move forward and do something you might not be able to afford. Like I said, nothing wrong with home ownership. Just be aware of what's going on when you're watching your favorite HGTV personality.
And then I think the next one that we end up seeing in our 30s as it relates to the invisible social contract is this idea that I somehow have to become the absolute very best version of myself. I have to be the absolute best parent. I must have the most impressive life.
And that looks a certain way.
I mean, that's what
they're playing. Like, and let me go and give you some examples. Anybody who watches America's Funniest Home Videos, who's one of the biggest advertisers? You watch Blackish, the TV show. What do they always show? They show everybody, and what do? We just had the Super Bowl. What do they say after you win the Super Bowl? We're going to Disney World. Right. I mean, everybody, you got to take that. And I love Disney. Y'all know I'm a Disney fanatic. But you might not be able to afford to go to Disney, but they are making it feel like to live your best life ever, you take the kids to Disney. It is an invisible social contract. You don't even realize this stuff is going on. And then, we even put this stuff, on how you treat your kids, on how you because it's not uncommon, because we talk about Millionaire Next Door, talking about concepts. One of the biggest things you can do for your children is not provide them economic outpatient care. But that is not what happens. Sometimes it's not uncommon to have two siblings, one that's really good with money and one that is horrible, and parents will try to equalize their children to try to make them both have the same outcome. They're not helping.
That's right.
That is an invisible social contract. Extracurricular activities, all the travel sports with kids, it's coming for you, Bo. Wait until you find out.
Well, the one on here I can see that's freaking me out is like family pets. And look, there's nothing at all wrong with family pets, but I can't tell you how many friends I have. They're like, oh, we got married. Well, we got to go get a dog, or we got to go get. Maybe if that's what makes sense for you, but when you make that decision, recognize that's a big decision. Do that because it's something that you actually want to do that matters to you, not because society wants to see Fluffy running around in your front yard.